Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and I'm here with Scrapbook Boutique, and this is the June 2017 Moodboard inspiration. I just love the elegance of the gold and the black, but for some reason I was drawn to colouring a cow. How cool is this Art Impressions cow? It's from a set called Udderly Fantastic, and I just thought, I don't know where I got the idea from. I just saw black and white. I thought cows are black and white, and thought she'd be really fun with a gold skirt on. So, once the idea's in my head, I don't know if you're the same, but once the idea's in my head, sometimes I've just got to go with it until it's done and then get it out of my brain so that I can get on with the next card. But anyway, I decided to Copic colour, and initially I did try colouring this. I did a couple of practice colours, and I tried the C's, but they were just too cool for a cow. Like, it's warm-blooded, so it should have warm colours. So I went with the W's, and they worked much nicer. Now, these art impression stamps are really fun to colour, but they do have quite fine lines, so it does take a bit of time to sort of get yourself around it. I don't know, I find it's much easier to colour slowly, and maybe the new nibs that Copics have coming out might make it easier for something like this. But I find with the brush tip, as long as you take your time, it isn't that hard to do. I don't use a lot of colours because I did want her to look kind of white, and I did come back in and add some shading with the warms and the light colour warms, and this is where I did decide to use the cool greys. So on the balloon and on her party hat, they are meant to be black, but I did struggle with the black balloon a bit, obviously. And in the end, I actually just decided to colour the whole thing black. That was easier. I'm going to cover it with sparkle anyway, so I don't know why I was bothering. For my golds, I chose sort of the YR and the Y family, and these work really well as a gold. And often what I'll do too is use a green in the golds. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the gold colours have a real sort of a green base to them. So I actually did grab one of the YGs just for the highlight on the skirt and the balloons and stuff, and it did sort of seem to make it more shimmery. I will list all the colours over at my blog, and the link will be in the YouTube description below. The colours are pretty much off to the side as well, so you will be able to see them there. Oh, and she has gold nail polish on too. Okay, so this is a new tool for me, and it's a pen blade, and this is a number 11, and if you've noticed before, I do like to use an 11 blade, but this is great. It's quite safe. See how you can retract the blade, but then also use it as a cutter? Awesome. There's 3 different kinds of blade styles, but I like the 11 the best because of the sharp point, but each is good for different reasons. I just thought I'd take you through a little bit of the fussy cutting today, because this is, like I said, it's got a fine sort of detail image. And when I'm fussy cutting something like this, leave everything intact and use your blade to cut away the inside pieces first. That way, if I had to cut around the outside first, then I'd be struggling with really fine lines that I needed to cut around that were wobbling. So by keeping my cardstock intact and actually cutting away the centers, taking my time, and I just love how sharp this knife is. It's even sharper, I think, than the normal blade that I use, and I don't know why, or whether it's just because it's got a bit of a wider handle on it, makes it easier to hold. And I probably could have cut this piece out with my scissors, but I was having so much fun with the blade that I just kept cutting with that instead. And once I've cut all the sort of intricate parts away, that's when I'll come in with my scissors and actually cut around the outside. So that's just a couple of quick tips for fussy cutting. And I've gone through this before, but I'm just basically moving the paper, keeping my scissors facing forward and working my way around the image. I do actually visualize where I'm going to cut as I'm cutting. Does that make sense? I'm looking ahead rather than where I'm cutting. I'm looking at where I'm going to cut to, and I find that helps me cut straighter. I want to create my own sort of glam background, and I thought it'd be fun to have some nice wide stripes. So I'm using my viscous trimmer here, and most trimmers will have a mark, so I'm actually cutting them all at the 1 inch mark, so that way they're all going to be exactly the same width. And I've done that with some black cardstock and also some gold cardstock. It's a gold mirror cardstock. I've got a piece of white scrap paper that's cut to the size of the panel that I want on the front of my card. I'm just working out here where I want the first piece to be. So this black panel is where I'm going to put my sentiments. So I did want to place that just right. And then I can come in with all my other pieces and just basically build up the background here, alternating the gold and the black. Rather than try and cut this down on my trimmer, which you certainly could do, I just find it easier to get a long straight pair of sharp scissors and cut away the edge from the back. And it's weird because I can't cut a straight line. If I do, I keep cutting and cutting and it ends up too small, but you know, I'm sure you've done that too. But if I do that along the edge of the card, it always looks perfectly straight. I don't get it. Anyway, it works. That's what's good. The sentiment is from the same set, and it says Utterly Marvellous or Utterly Moveless, and I've just dabbed that in some onyx black ink on some white cardstock and cut out a border. This is from the MFT Die-Namics. It's a rectangle word window frame die, and I've cut that out of gold. And if I had been thinking ahead, I would have probably added some Stick It adhesive to the back of this first, because the trouble with matte medium is if I get it on the gold, it leaves marks and it's hard to remove. So some Stick It would have been much easier. So I just was really careful. I used some fun foam to pop up my panel on the front of a top fold card, and some foam squares to add both my cow image and my sentiment window. And that's my finished card. Head over to Scrapbook Boutique and find out how you can win if you're here in June 2017 and you're from Australia and also New Zealand. And oh yeah, I forgot to say, I did tell you that I think that I was going to add some shimmer to the balloons, and I also decided to add it to the skirt. This is the Spectrum Noir. I'm going to have all the links in the description below. And one last final thing I did add, which I didn't show you I didn't do till after, was I just added some black Nouveau gloss drops around the sentiment area. I just added 3 of those. I just thought it added a little bit of something to the card, but you'll see that in the last photo here. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.